Okay. There we go. All right, got it. So now it's recording. But yeah, I'm gonna see if you guys did your homework. So I sent 2 IHSA state videos for you to watch. Can you let me know in the chat if you watched either of them? If you didn't, tell me that as well. I want a response from everyone. And then also, what topic did you choose from for your speech? All right, so answer those 2 questions. You can answer them in the chat. You don't have to turn on your video for now. So go ahead, please respond. Okay. So Andrew responded. Again, if you didn't watch it, just let me know. I need to know about where you guys stand and also your topic. So Andrew also told me his topic, which is great. Thank you for responding, guys. Okay, interesting. During class last time. Okay, cool. All right, and then what about Iris and Alicia? And then do you guys have topics? So Audrey and Alan, do you guys have topics you guys want to do for your speeches? So we have some topics. So Andrew's topic, you wanted to talk about the metaverse. That's interesting. Do you still want to do radio, or do you want to do like informative speaking? Because I think it might be hard to do radio about the metaverse. And then Katie wants to talk about the Netherlands and the US. Okay, so I would love to know more about that, as in what difference between the Netherlands and the US? Is this like education system? What specifically is the difference? And then Iris and Alicia, what did you guys come up with? What topics do you want? Again, we have to basically narrow all this down, right? So both surroundings and education. Interesting. Okay, Iris, I watch both. Like the poetry reading more. English has evolved throughout the past year since the first essay about it before. Interesting. All right, so Iris, that would be good. That would be informative as well. And then Alicia, forensics. Okay, so forensics, I'm assuming that's like in terms of like crime, right? And like forensic analysis and like evidence of crime scenes. If so, that works as well. So these are all great topics you guys can talk about. And then Alan, I want to talk about the NFTs and explain the topic. That works as well. All right, cool. So these are all great topics. I'm going to write some of these down. They're all basically informative topics, right? Like you want to inform the audience about something, which is perfectly fine. Audrey, you're looking for a TED Talk. I think that's great. That would be more of a oratorical declamation, which is perfectly fine. Katie wants to do like a comparison, which is interesting. We can do that as well. And then Andrew, metaverse. Iris, English, evolution of English, that could also be for sure. And then Alicia, forensics, medicine. Right. All right, perfect. So yeah, no worries if you didn't actually watch the speeches, but the people who did watch it, specifically like Iris learned a ton from watching it. So the poetry speech that I sent you all is very powerful because there's so many voice variety as well as facial expressions and emotions. I sent you that poetry video to watch because that shows you how to use emotion in your speech, and that's super powerful in terms of poetry. So if you guys haven't watched that, I would recommend going back and watching that. I'll send you some more videos over the weekend. Please watch that. And the other one was a radio speech. That's because I think some of you wanted to do radio, and that's more of like just your voice. But yeah, and so I'm glad you all have some topics. We will dive into this stuff. And then Alan, yes, it should not be a big deal. So again, here are some of the potential speeches. I think most of you will be doing informative speaking, right? If you have a topic such as NFTs or forensic medicine or stuff like that, you're going to be informing the audience about it. Not really taking a stance. You're not really saying like, oh, unless you want to take a stance. So if you want to say like NFTs are bad, then that becomes like an original oratory speech, okay? Otherwise, if you're not taking a stance, then you're just informing the audience about your topic, which is perfectly fine. And then oratorical declamation, I think someone else is doing this. Find a TED Talk that you love, find a speech already published that you love, take the transcript, and then you're essentially just delivering it like your own speech, right? That should be pretty simple as well. And then some of the others, I don't think anyone is doing any of these, but yeah. If you already know about a bit about the topic, if you've written essays about the topic, this is all great because we're going to have to do some research. For some of you who don't know a lot about these topics, you're going to have to do some research. You're going to have to formulate a structure. And if you already know about the topic, then you can fill in that structure really easily. And I'll go over that very soon. All right. So looking over the speech toolbox once again, last week we went over heavily vocal variety, right? And we watched a speech, an original oratory speech about it. And we also touched on a lot of these other ones, right? Gestures, eye contact, using space, moving around, intonation and emphasis and pauses, and then facial expressions, right? So today I'm going to focus in on intonation, emphasis, and pauses with another great speech. This was the state champion 2 years ago for informative speaking. Now, what I want you guys to know, why I'm saying informative speaking, is because a lot of you are doing informative speaking, right? So what I want you to know in this, even if you don't focus so much about the speaking is going to be great, obviously. Look at the structure, all right? The structure of an informative speech, all right? So what does that look like here? What I'm going to do is I'm literally going to make another slide real quick that talks about the structure of an informative speech. So what's the structure? Well, the structure is going to look like this, right? So there's you have an introduction with an attention getter, right? So an attention getter is like a hook, something to hook your audience in. And then you bring in the topic in relation to that attention getter, right? So you bring in the topic. Then you have 3 main points, right? 3 points. Usually the points for so this is informative speaking structure. And you guys can follow this as well, write some notes as well. The 3 points are usually like the background or history of whatever your thing is. Then the applications, and then the implications. Now, what does this mean? So you're going to start with background and history. So you're going to go over, the background of this thing that you're speaking about. If that's NFTs, right, you're going to have to talk about, when did NFTs first start? What was the start of it, right? Who was involved, right? What did it look like? That's the background of it. Then the applications. So applications are current. What is it used for right now, right? What are NFTs used for right now? Besides a cool profile picture, is it being traded? Is it used as money, monetary value, right? What is it currently being used? And then implications is like the future and the effect it has on society, right? So in the future, how are NFTs going to shape society? How will this shape society and how we live, right? So how are NFTs going to shape the way we live? Is everyone going to have an NFT in the future? Is everyone going to use NFTs as money, right? And then also for other topics like forensic medicine, right? What's the history of it? When did it first start? Give me some background information on this. Then the applications right now, right? How is forensics being used right now? For crime scenes, for genetics? I don't know anything, but you would be doing the research and figuring this out. And then the implications. What does this mean in the future, right? Are we going to be using forensic medicine to cure cancer, to find different genetic combinations or interactions again, I don't know what I'm talking about, but like you would be researching this stuff and finding how to do this stuff, finding how to fill in the structure. And then lastly, you have the conclusion, bringing it all together. So this is essentially the structure. It'll be in the slides I send out, but let's take a look at this speech right here. And again, what I want you to do is watch the speech for the structure, right? This speech is about graffiti, okay? Graffiti, like painting on walls, painting on buildings. That's what this is about. And let's see if you can identify the structure and how she crafts her speech, right? So I'm gonna share my sound. The speech starts around here. All right, and then obviously it's a great speech, so listen to it. I'm gonna show the whole thing because I want you guys to focus in on the structure. Later, we'll discuss afterwards, so pay attention, all right? I'll ask some questions.
Just last month, archaeologists discovered what is thought to be the oldest story ever told, painted in a fading red on a crumbling cave wall. Now, the story itself depicts supernatural humans hunting wild beasts, a scene which preserves the secrets and cultures of a time some 44,000 years before today. One archaeologist even recalls screaming with excitement the moment he received images of the painting. Now, as a child, I too used the walls of my house as my canvas, and my mom also screamed when she saw it. I don't think she truly appreciated the masterpiece that was Blue Sharpie on Yellow Wall. But let's face it, people have been communicating their stories through graffiti or scribblings on walls for as long as people have even existed. The twist is that what is so incredible about this story today may not have been so incredible back then. It could have been seen as scandalous or even criminal, just like our contemporary view of graffiti. And it's true that the types of things we see written on walls can range anywhere from "life is beautiful, your mom's a nice lady" to "effed up police, dog." But these things provide inspiration, affirmation, and perhaps most importantly, entertainment. Graffiti isn't simply art or vandalism. It's a vast history of human culture, a way of giving voice to those who had previously felt voiceless. And it is so much more than just writings on walls. So today, let's paint a picture of how graffiti began. Then let's avoid violating the law as we understand how the modern movement was set into motion, before finally protesting our old ways, with some innovations in this unconventional art form. Now, when we typically hear the word graffiti, we most often think of those big bubbly letters and splatters of paint, which can be found under bridges or in winding alleyways. But one simple Google search will tell you that graffiti has always simply consisted of anything that has been scribbled, scratched, or sprayed onto walls in public spaces. And as we've learned, University of Alaska professor Dale Guthrie brings to light cave paintings as the first form of graffiti. He analyzed the dimensions of handprints found on cave walls to find that most of these paintings were actually made by adolescent boys. And fittingly, most of these early teens primarily painted depictions of hunting and graphic images of genitalia. It seems that throughout history, teenage boys have always kept it classy. But while early teens primarily used graffiti as a way of communicating, modern-day teens turned it into a movement to force themselves to be seen and heard. Martha Cooper, photographer who documented the graffiti scene in New York, found that the phenomenon was still most popular with teens in the 1970s. At the beginning of modern street art's debut, she found that it had become somewhat of a secret society, an art form which kids understood and adults most often didn't. And this was the entire reason that the modern movement began in the first place. According to a New York Times article titled "Celebrating the Forefather of Graffiti," it was begun by a bored Greek-American teenager named Demetrius in 1970s New York City. Demetrius painted his name and street number, Taki 183, on hundreds, if not thousands, of surfaces in New York. This began the entire practice of tagging, a graffiti artist's way of developing their own unique signature to make a name for themselves while still remaining anonymous. These teens' work inspired an entirely new form of art based simply on the idea of leaving one's mark on their city. Maybe not always a permanent one, but a mark nonetheless. But since Demetrius's time, it seems that graffiti has developed into something much more significant with pop culture. It's become a symbol of protest in hip-hop culture, but also a sort of megaphone for marginalized people. And with the emergence of artists like Banksy who provide social commentary through their art, it's become much more mainstream as well. According to the Smithsonian Magazine, the popularization of Banksy's art in particular had a profound impact on the view of graffiti in mainstream culture. Most notably, the Banksy effect allowed for graffiti to be appreciated as a legitimate art form by all social classes, not just those who traditionally create it. And this effect isn't limited to the United States alone. As BBC News reported that as recently as the summer of 2019, Hong Kong protesters broke into their parliamentary building and littered it with graffiti. In a symbolic act of protest, they painted over Hong Kong's emblem, expressing their anger over citizens' unequal rights with the message, "Hong Kong is not China." Even now, people on the fringes still risk being seen as criminals in order to be heard, behavior which calls people to action and shapes our values. Popular acceptance never changed the fact that graffiti is risky behavior, but it did make us realize that what we see written on our walls is a part of our collective culture. It gave us the ability to distinguish between art that has a rhetorical message of importance and art that is, quite frankly, just trash. But even as it developed into a more accepted way of protesting authority, graffiti has also begun to morph into a legitimate, accepted art form. CBS News reported that in 2014, the Brazilian city of Rio de Janeiro made the decision to legalize graffiti in designated public spaces. Since then, artists who began their careers as vandals are now launching recycling projects, creating murals dedicated to science, and plastering the walls of their city with the history of their cultures. Rio acts as an experiment to prove that despite its roots in challenging authority, graffiti evidently still can act within the law as a tool for social development. And in the US, while we still like to view graffiti as in association with violence and gang culture, we have begun to experience a change of heart as well. It begins with Robert Gassman, graffiti historian who curated an entire museum dedicated to street art in Brooklyn. Its opening was attended by figures like Spike Lee and LL Cool J, creative minds who gathered to celebrate the continuation of an art form which used to be absolutely despised. And this isn't just seen in the US or in Rio. It's seen in the UK, in Australia, Estonia, and even on the island of Tahiti. All countries where graffiti festivals are being held to showcase street art and bring in tourists. Graffiti has begun to creep out of the alleyways of New York and spread throughout the world. It's clear that as our world changes, so too does graffiti, and the need to celebrate it as a legitimate art form. So, even though my parents were furious with me for writing on their dining room wall, and even though the value of our house likely dropped that day, I firmly believe that the scribblings on our walls are precious. No matter how temporary, these scribblings are our way of preserving the moments in which we're living. Protest art has always been edgy, and not every piece of graffiti will be a sight for sore eyes. But disorder reminds us of both the reality and the humanity of the world we're living in. So, in the end, I believe that graffiti is more than just scribblings, rather a visual reminder of who we are.
All right, hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Now, could I get you all to turn on your cameras if you're here? Because we're gonna discuss a little bit about this real quick. Afterward, you guys will have a break, so don't worry. All right, turn on your camera if you are able to, and if you are here. Thank you very much, Audrey. Thank you, Katie. Andrew, all right, Alicia and Iris, are you all here? Perfect, thank you, Iris and Alicia. All right, and then Alan, you can keep it off, that's fine. But we'll have you all talk a little bit, right? You guys just watched this amazing speech about graffiti, right? I'm gonna go back to the structure, right? So the structure here. How about you guys talk a little bit about this? Who would like to tell me about the attention getter? What was the thing that she said at the beginning to get our attention or tell a story? Does anyone know who would like to talk about this? I guess I'll start with, oh,
Maybe jokes and like stories.
yeah. Do you
Like
remember?
how her painted the wall, I believe, and then also saying that the spray, the thing could be like good piece of art, or it could be like after cops.
Yeah, exactly. So her attention getter was like, she had a personal story in there of painting on walls as a child, right? That's very funny. It draws the audience in, it relates to the audience. And then also more jokes, right? What graffiti could be, right? It could be beautiful art, it could be some derogatory language as well, but it's showing what graffiti is and introducing the topic, right? But then she went into some of the background in history. So who would like to discuss, what she talked about in the background and history of graffiti? Does anyone remember? Um, how about Iris? Iris, do you remember anything about what she said for the background and history?
I can't seem to remember anything.
Okay. I think so. Well, does anyone else remember? No one. Okay, well, I hope you all paid attention, but the background in history, right, was talking about like some caveman paintings, right, all the way back in history from the cavemen and how they drew stuff. It was like young boys who drew stuff. Um, and it goes all the way as far back as like cave drawings, right? And that's considered the first graffiti that's been noted, right? And you can see how different that is compared to, right, how graffiti is being used today, right? Which he talked about next of the current applications of graffiti, right? All right. Does anyone want to talk about? Okay, how about this? Does anyone want to say anything about the speech? Right, I'll give you a chance just to talk about what you thought of the speech. You don't have to remember specific stuff, but we'll go around. All right. Andrew, what did you think about this speech?
For the speech, I would say, she used a lot of like kind of joke things to hook the attention, make audience laugh, and like kind of wanted to hear it and pay attention to it.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. She did use a lot of jokes. It seemed very natural as well. And yeah, you want to pay attention and listen to the entire speech. Alicia, what did you think?
I think the way she talked that make people want to listen more, and
What in particular? How did she speak that made you want to listen?
I forgot what word can use.
Did you like the topic, the different jokes, anecdotes?
the topic.
Okay. Yeah, this was a very interesting topic for an informative speech that one state. A lot of the times informative speeches can be about very unique topics like graffiti, right? Which you don't think is a very strong topic, but it worked out. And so, yeah, they did very well there. How about Katie? Katie, what did you think about this speech?
I also noticed like the way she used like emphasis on like when she talks. So it's, I guess, people's attention get more drawn towards her. I don't know. I actually don't remember much of the speech. I wasn't that interested in it.
Okay. So yeah, I guess sometimes you're not that interested in the speech depending on the topic or how she speaks. So our goal is always to make people as interested as possible, right? And then Audrey, what did you think about this speech?
I never knew that there were like festivals to like dedicated to celebrating graffiti, and I think that was interesting.
Love it. Glad you brought up something specific from the speech. And yeah, the whole point of an informative speech is to inform the audience about something. So hopefully you learned something new about graffiti while watching that speech and really understood what graffiti is as a whole. And also that graffiti, is like an art form, essentially. Right? All right. So seems like a lot of you are kind of out of it today. We'll give you all a break. All right, come back at 7:35. You can turn your cameras off and then be ready to start working on your own speeches. All right, cool. See you back at 7:30. All right. It is 7:35 now, so come back to Zoom. Okay, so you don't have to turn on your cameras, but if you are back, please give me a thumbs up reaction or something on Zoom so I can see you're back. Audrey, Alicia, Andrew, Alan, Katie, and then Iris. Yeah, you're all right. Cool. Perfect. So for the rest of class, what we're gonna do is give you all work time on your speech, right? So we obviously we don't have too many more classes, or I'd say we have a bit more than half, but we need to start planning the speech and writing the speech. All right. Especially for the people who are doing like informative topics, right? So for the people who are doing informative topics, which I believe are all of you except Audrey. Audrey, you can look through TED Talks, and I think that's actually a good choice because you don't have to write your own speech, and then you can just pull a TED Talk. If anyone else wants to do that as well, you can do that. Because writing your own speech is going to take up a lot of the time. And then for the people who have a speech already, we can just work with you on perfecting how you're delivering that speech. So the way you speak, right? That's a big goal of ours. So after you get your speech ready, we're going to help you talk through it and deliver it to the best of your ability, right? And so what I want you all to do, if you're writing your own speech, if you're not writing your own speech, doesn't matter. Open up a doc. So I love using Google Docs. You guys, if you have Google Docs, open that up. Otherwise, if you have like Word, you can use that as well. But yeah, open up a Google Doc. And then what I want you to do is start planning out the structure. So I'm gonna paste this in here in the chat. You can copy and paste this into your own doc, right? Essentially, you're gonna have your topic and you want your intro, your past, present, future, and conclusion, right? So if you're doing an informative speech, it'll largely be past, present, future, right? And so I gave you guys some examples of this. So like NFTs. So let's say on your doc, you can write down NFTs, right? So let me just make a doc and show you guys. So speech outline, right? So let's say my topic is NFTs, right? Then we have an introduction. I don't know what it is yet. But then we have our first thing is the background. Right. So what's in the background, right? The background, what I want you to do is find 2 points, literally only 2 points, all right? 1, 2, 2 things in the background. So some things you want to answer, right? What was the first instance of NFTs or of it, right? Whatever it was, like graffiti, they answered the first time graffiti was found was like cave drawings, right? And then it's like, how was it utilized back then, right? First instance, how was it utilized? You can also answer other stuff, but we essentially want 2 main points. How is it utilized? So this first instance can include like who, what, when, where, why. Right? Then applications is how is it utilized now and like by whom, right? Who is it utilized by? And then future is like how will it change and grow? And how will we use it differently, right? All right, so stuff like this. So go ahead, make your doc. And also I'm gonna have you all share your doc with us because that's the only way we can actually help you. So please be following along with this. If you have a Google Doc, I'll send you my email in chat. It's a weirder email. This is my email. Anderson, if you could put your email in the chat as well that you want them to share it with. So you go up here, click share, and then add us to your speech doc, all right? We're gonna do this because we wanna see your scripts, we wanna see how you're organizing this and your topics, and we can help you through it, right? So we have our emails in the chat. For people who are not writing their own, so like Audrey, I want you to look at as many TED Talks as you want to look at until you find one that you love, right? That you want to use and give a speech about. Then you're gonna look, so you should go on the TED actual website, so TED Talks. So one of them that I was looking at for school was a TED Talk by Paul Piff, Does Money Make You Mean, right? This is 16 minutes. It's really long, but we're gonna read the transcript. So essentially you're gonna take this transcript and copy this into a Google Doc, right? And then what we're gonna do is cut this. So you're gonna start cutting this down because you don't wanna give a 16-minute speech. What I want you all to do, most speeches are 8 minutes, okay? So most speeches are 8 minutes, but this camp is, a lot of you aren't even in high school yet. There's no need for us to give a full 8-minute speech. That's actually pretty long. So what I want you all to do is aim for 5 to 6 minutes, okay? So 5 to 6 minutes is what you all should be aiming for. We're gonna try and write a speech that's 5 to 6 minutes and deliver one that's 5 to 6 minutes, all right? Because then it's actually a big speech. There's enough time to deliver each of these parts, right? Because then each of these will be like a minute and a half, right? Essentially. And then you'll have enough time for your intro and then conclusion. Right. And then think of the introduction. Funny stories or jokes that can tie into your topic, okay? And then lastly, conclusion is just wrap everything up. We'll go over that later. So 5 to 6 minutes of a speech. I'm gonna actually share this all with you guys in the doc as well, or in the slides, so that you guys can reference it later when you're going back. So yeah, so for Audrey, for people who are doing TED Talks, you find the TED Talk you want to do, you take the transcript, and then what you want to do is start editing this transcript, cutting stuff. If you think this entire paragraph is useless, delete it, right? Delete specific things, right? And then once you do that, hopefully it gets cut down to like 5 to 6 minutes from 16 minutes, right? So you want to find a TED Talk that's a bit shorter, so you don't have to cut too much stuff and it still makes sense, right? And then once you get that final cut, then you're just delivering it, right? Giving a speech, essentially, from that draft that you have, okay? All right, so guys, please start doing this and sharing the docs with me. We can't end class today without you all sharing it because I have no clue what progress you guys are making. We want to guide you through this, right? Remember, you need a full speech by the end. Alicia, did you want to say something?
I don't use Google Docs, so will that work if I use another document?
Yeah, what do you use instead?
Shimo, I think.
Mhm.
SHIMO. Is this like for a different country?
It's just Canadian, so that might be a Canadian standard or something like that.
Okay. You can use something else if you don't have Google Docs, that's fine. We still want to be able to like follow along with what you're doing, so I think we'll just check in with you individually. But yeah, use
So
whatever.
well, Microsoft work, I have that too.
Use whatever you're comfortable with. I think sharing is the easiest with Google Docs, but anything else, are basically the same because we can't share directly. So just use what you are comfortable with.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so we're getting some shared with me, perfect, and then share them with Anderson as well.
From Iris, I'm checking my phone right now. That's the only one I saw so far, unless you guys already sent it, but it's still delayed or whatever.
Oh yeah, and then if you guys want this speech outline right now, so you can literally like copy it, I'll put it in the chat. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, you guys can copy this entire stuff and then paste it into your doc. All right, and then cool. So Iris, thank you for sending us the speech. So you can definitely use some stuff you've done in the past and just like an essay or something. And now we're gonna help you give it as a speech as best as possible. Right? Cool, cool. Okay, so what we have right now, winter. Can I ask who Winter is?
Oh, it's me, Katie. I don't.
All right, no.
This
no.
account from someone else. I don't use my
Okay.
real name.
Cool, cool. So we have Katie and Iris, perfect. Now, okay, Anderson, can you read over Iris's like essay or whatever right now, just so you have it?
Yeah, sure, I can.
Because we'll give you all individualized help throughout the next few weeks, right? So the goal for today obviously is to list out all this. What you're gonna have to do, if you don't know a lot about your topic, you're gonna have to do research, okay? This is not fun, but you have to do it. If you find a source, keep that link, right? So if you don't know when the first instance of an NFT was, do a Google search, search it up somewhere, and then if you get that source, so let me show you. When were NFTs created? So like, boom, perfect, something like this, right? I wouldn't say this is a credible source, but for example, right? So who created the first NFTs? NFTs were first introduced as colored coins in 2012, right? Right, and so here's some stuff about NFTs when it started. And then also here, right? First minted was by these two, the digital artists, right? Sold for $4. Right, so this source could give you a lot of info about the background. And so what I would do is copy this and put it into my document, right? Keep it somewhere, or you can literally do this, right? And then you can answer these questions, right? Who, what, when, where, why, right? So who, right? Digital artists, these two, minted on May 3rd, blah, blah, what was it called? And so you can go through all of that stuff, you can write about it, and then put it into your outline, right? So what I want you all to do, so by next Tuesday, you're gonna need a full outline of your speech done, okay? Or if you're using an essay, right, have that essay completed. If you're doing a TED Talk, right, make sure you pick your TED Talk. You need to have it picked, get that transcript, and then start cutting it down, right? So let's say it starts at 2,000 words. If it's 2,000 words, it's gonna be too long, right? So 5 to 6 minutes. So an 8-minute speech, I'll say 1,200 words, right? For 8 minutes is how many for 5.5 divided by 8? 800. Yeah, so you're gonna want around 800 words. in your script, okay? So if you're doing a TED Talk, if you start at 2,000 words, you're gonna have to cut it down to 800 words. If you're writing your own speech, you can write to try and aim for 800 words, because then when you deliver that, it can be around 5 to 6 minutes, all right? Maybe 750, all right, 750 words, okay? So by next Tuesday, all of you need to have an outline. You have the whole weekend. You have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, all that to work on just an outline, right? So what is an outline? All of this, you need to answer all these questions. If I ask you about the background of your topic, say NFTs, you need to be able to tell me two different points about them, right? 1, 2. If I ask you about how it's being used now, you need to tell me how it's being used now, right? Same with the implications and the future, right? The future is going to be the hardest. Sometimes you can do a quick Google search, right? You know, what is the future of NFTs? Right? So this is a great article about, it's not utility, but collectability. So NFTs in the future might be collectibles, right? Or the future of NFTs, boom, what could it look like? The history and future, Forbes, right? Forbes is a great website. Medium is a great website, right? Business Day. All of these are pretty credible websites, right? And so doing Google searches, understanding what to search for is going to be great in helping you. Again, this is linked here. So I'll send out this at the end of class. Take a look at this. And so what is our homework for today? Well, our homework is by next Tuesday, which is 6/28. You need to have a full outline completed with background, applications, and implications, which is past, present, future. So you need to be able to tell me all about that. Keep your sources, right? Keep your stuff. You're not writing the whole speech, just flush out that outline, right? Tell me, learn about your topic, right? Learn about your topic. Learn about your topic. For those of you who already have scripts, cut the scripts down to 750 words from the TED Talk or essays you chose, right? All right, so make sure you do this for next Tuesday, because from there, we can actually start finishing writing the essays, right? The scripts. And then for those of you who have scripts, we'll start helping you deliver those speeches. Because let me think, how many days do we have? I think we have 9 days. I think we have like 4 more sessions. Let me see. We have like 1, 2. Right, so we have 1, 2. This is a day off. 3, 4. We have 4 more sessions before our showcase. Our showcase is on the 14th. So we need this to be done by then, right? And so we essentially want our speeches to be done and written, let's say by the 7th. So next week, we'll help you write the entire thing, get that done. Then you'll have a long break until the 7th. This Tuesday, July 5th, we don't have class, I believe, because it's a holiday weekend. But by the 7th, we're gonna need all the essays complete, all the speeches completely done. And then we'll spend these 2 classes helping you guys prepare on how to present it, all right? So we have plenty of time, but also we need you to make sure you're doing work outside of class, because we only have an hour in class. And in this hour, we wanna be guiding you through all of this stuff, all right? Cool. And then Anderson, yeah, you can start commenting. All right, so we have stuff from, or I have stuff from Katie and Iris, and then Alicia is on something else. Okay, so Andrew, Alan, do you guys have Google Docs? Audrey, do you have a Google Doc?
I just sent it.
Okay, cool. So we're waiting on Alan's. Audrey and Andrew, do you guys have a Google Doc created?
Do I need to just do I need to send it to like where should I send it?
So we put the emails in the chat. I will also include these emails in the doc as well. So share your Google Docs with. Okay, so Andrew, you'll share by the weekend. Okay. Okay, so these are the two emails you should share them with. They're in the chat here.
Do you mind if I also do it later? Because I don't have my laptop with me right now and it's a bit inconvenient.
Okay, yeah, no worries. Just make sure you guys get it done. Again, we need you all to be doing some work outside of class. Otherwise, we won't be able to get this done. All right. So yeah, make sure you share over the weekend. And we want to be able to see what progress you all are making for next class. Okay. So these are all the things. I'll send out a recap of this, and then we'll also have the recording and everything you guys can go back to. All right. Topics. And then cool. I'm still waiting on Alan's.
Wait, Bill, so I'll be commenting over Iris's and then you're gonna do everyone else's.
I mean, we can definitely both work. We can both work on everyone's. I just had you read Iris's right now as I was talking. I'll read it over later. But yeah, we can help everyone's, and then also we're gonna need to help everyone with the writing portion.
I got Alan's deck, but I only have Iris and Alan. So if anyone else wants to send theirs to me, I can also take a look at yours.
Ooh, okay, so this, Alicia, I have a link. I will look at that soon. Alan, did you send it to me as well, or share it with me?
Yeah, I think I did. To both. Yeah, I did.
Same
Both?
as everyone?
Okay,
Can you-
I didn't get that yet, but I will.
Wait, again, hold up.
That's fine. So yeah, we have Iris, Katie's, Andrew and Audrey will send over the weekend, and then Alan is sending, and then Alicia is using a different thing. Yeah, that is completely fine. Thank you all for that. We will keep track of this for next week and make sure to finish up that outline for Tuesday. All right. But for today, you guys are free to go. Thank you for being here. All right, and make sure to share those with us. All right, wait, Anderson, you said you got Alan's?
I did get Alan's.
That's fine, as long as each of us.
You directly if you need me to. Oh, it's already shared to you. I think you should be able to see it then in your Google Drive.
Oh, it didn't send me a notice. That's might be why. But it's fine. All right, thank you, Alan. You should be good. All right. I don't actually have it. But it's fine. As long as you have it, Anderson, we're good for now. All right, does that sound good?
Right. Yeah, so far I've got 2 people's, and I'll look over that. I don't know if the rest of them sent me or shared it to me and didn't send me an email or not, but
Yeah, we can look at on Tuesday. It's fine. All right.
think about
Give
looking
them-
over it on like the weekend or whatever, just because I think that a little bit of extra edits would help.
Sure. A lot of people don't have drafts though yet, so
That's true.
yeah, we'll figure it out next week. All right. See ya. And you can end the recording.
I did forget to end the recording.